Very warm welcome to our demo webinar about the Luware Nimbus Attendant Console. Very excited to have you all here. A week ago, Ollie showed us the Luware Nimbus, the enterprise routing. So today, it's all about the Attendant Console. Ollie Lively is our account and partner manager. He's based in the UK. Very warm welcome, Ollie. Thanks a lot for holding this webinar. I'm Melina Merkov. I'm the head of marketing at Luware. And Ollie is going to show us this solution today. Yeah, so without further ado, Ollie, I would hand over to you. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Melina. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. So let's kick things off. So just before we start with the demonstration, I just wanted to give you a little bit of context as to the wider picture and the wider Teams Voice picture where we fit in. Okay, so in terms of the ways of delivering calls to Teams, there are obviously lots of different options depending on your location, size, complexity, etc. So you can choose any of these voice enablement methods. We're completely agnostic in terms of how you decide to deliver your calls to Teams. So whether you want to use direct routing or calling plans or Operator Connect, we really don't mind. Okay, so you've got a wide choice of how you deliver your calls to Teams, and we don't get involved in that side of it. Once that call is in your Teams environment, that's where we've developed the Luware Nimbus application. This sits as an enterprise application on your Teams tenant. And once that call is in your Teams tenant, it then never leaves, okay? So with that, we can overlay things like contact center, routing, reporting, the attendant console, obviously, which is what we'll focus on, integrations and voice recording, okay? So just to give you a bit of idea of what else we can offer, obviously today we're focused on the attendant console. But within Nimbus, once you upload the application to your tenant and you've got the right license from us, you have access to all of this functionality. Okay, so I won't dwell on this too much, but just so you've got a bit of background, we have the advanced and enterprise routing. Okay, so this is how we can route calls in Teams, gives you some live reporting, historical reporting, distribute those calls amongst a group of users. We can integrate into third-party CRMs and ERP systems and add codes against those. Okay, if you're interested in those solutions, you can go back and rewatch the enterprise routing webinar that we hosted last week. We also have a contact center option, which is designed for those more traditional contact centers where those users will need skills-based routing, after call wrap-up time, custom dashboards, and then we've got a lot of growth and development in that license as well coming up later this year. Once you've set those core voice routing modules up, you can add on things like the attendant console, which is obviously what we'll be demoing today. You can add on Luware Interact, which basically allows you to bring external communications in from your website, including voice calls, video calls, chat sessions, screen share sessions from your website to Teams users. And then obviously that's all underpinned by our recording solution. So if you need calls to be recorded either from a kind of training and quality management point of view or even from a compliance perspective, then we can add that there. So this is all modular. It's all a software as a service based offering. So you can pick and choose what you need, mix and match those licenses, and it's all cloud based. Okay, so there's no infrastructure for you to install. The only thing to install is the Luware Nimbus app as an enterprise application. Okay, so that's the boring slides out of the way. Let's crack on with the demo. So I'm going to go into my Teams desktop app here. Okay, so everything that I'd expect to see is here, my chat, my Teams, my calls, etc. So Nimbus is just another application that we can pin or unpin from our taskbar here. I can access Nimbus wherever I can access Teams. So I can access the attendant console, whether that's in my Teams desktop app, via the web app. Again, I can even handle calls via the Teams mobile app. Okay, so I'm going to come into Nimbus now. There are various different dashboards depending on what kind of use case you have or what role you play within the call groups. Okay, but we're going to focus on the attendant console. What we'd always suggest doing is popping Nimbus out into its own window. Okay, so just like you can pop out a Teams chat or a Teams video meeting into its own window, you can pop our application out now. So it's still obviously natively embedded within Teams, but now if I want to chat to somebody in Teams here in this window, but I want to go to my attendant console here, or put this up on another screen, for example, so I can always see the calls, then I can do that. So the attendant console is found down here. And this is what the end user will see. Okay, so we tried to consolidate as much information into this one view as possible, so the end user only has one place to go. Okay, and they're not having to flip between different dashboards to see what's going on. I'll start on the right-hand side here with services. Okay, so services just means queues or call groups essentially. So in a attendant console scenario, these different services might represent different mainline numbers at different office locations. So for example, here we've got a Swiss office location, a UK office location, and then a different reporting queue. So this just gives us the flexibility to, maybe I'll just be logged into the Swiss queue here most of the time, but I can see here in real time how many calls are in these queues. So I might decide to log into the UK queue when I see they've got a particularly high call volume, okay? Or I might cover some locations on certain days and others on other days, okay? It also allows us to kind of get rid of that one-to-one ratio. So you might have some scenarios where you've got a really busy mainline number and you actually need 5 attendant console users to answer calls for that one mainline number, okay? Here they can easily log in and out of that mainline number, okay? And then you can have multiple people logged into the same queue. Or alternatively, you might just have 1 or 2 attendant console users who manage multiple mainline numbers, but they still need to see where those calls are coming from. So it gives you that flexibility. So I've got the ability to log in and out here. So when I'm logged into these services, that essentially means I'm ready to take a call for those services. You can see in real time here that we've got 2 callers waiting in the reporting queue, and any callers that are waiting across any queue are going to appear on the left-hand side here in real time. So we've got these listed from longest waiting to shortest waiting, okay? We can see which queue they're coming in from. So if they are coming in from multiple queues, I know where they're coming in from before that call is answered. And if we have an integration with an Excel database or a CRM or Outlook, then if we recognize the caller by their phone number calling in, then we can actually display the name of that caller before we answer that call, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a call in and show you that live call handling experience. So I'm going to put a call into this this Swiss queue here using my mobile, and I'll show you that call handling experience. Okay, so I've just used my mobile to put that call in. Okay, and then what's going to happen here straight away? This caller appears in the queue on the left-hand side. It tells me the queue it's coming in on. This will also appear as a Teams call pop-up. Okay, so this toast will appear wherever I am on my desktop, and I know that this is a attendant console call rather than a DDI call because it shows me the queue name that's coming in from there. Okay, so I'm going to answer that call. Just going to put myself on mute so I don't get any feedback. And now I'm just in a Teams call, okay? So in terms of actually handling that call and answering that call, as long as that user is kind of familiar with using Teams, then answering that call shouldn't be an issue there. Now, we can handle that call in here, but what we found is, and what after speaking to a lot of kind of receptionists and switchboard operators, they're actually using the Teams native transfer and consultant transfer is quite a few clicks and it can be quite clunky. So what we've done is we've allowed you to handle that call, transfer that call, instead of using the Teams call handling window, to do that natively within our Nimbus app here, okay? So a couple of things to note here. We've got the active call. Because we have this synced up with an Excel directory, I recognize the caller's CLI, and that means I can actually display the name of the caller to the receptionist, so I know who this is that's calling. I can even see some additional information about that caller from that Excel list. Okay, so I can see their email address and then their physical address if we have that information. And now that I've got a call, okay, now I need to decide what to do with it. So in the contact search section, this is the focal point. So I can see here that we've got favorites, so I can pin up to 15 favorite contacts, okay? And we can pull in contacts from multiple different sources. So these top 2 contacts here, these are internal contacts. These are internal Teams contacts from AD. Because they're internal, I'm able to see their present status. Okay, so I can see whether they're online, offline, green, red, orange, whatever their Teams presence is, I'm going to be able to immediately see that. So if I need to transfer the call to David, I can see that he's offline here, so I know that perhaps he's not going to answer that call. What we also give you the ability to do is pull in external contacts. Now, a lot of reception teams that we work with, they want to they have a list in Excel or in Outlook of external suppliers or external customers, or even just taxi companies or pizza delivery companies, okay, that they often transfer calls to. So what we're doing here is actually displaying those calls from that external source amongst the other contacts. So if I need to transfer this to Russell or Ollie here, who are in fact external, then they just appear alongside my internal contacts. And then finally, if we have other queues or other sites set up on our Nimbus application, then what we can do here is we can actually transfer the calls straight to these other queues. And I'm immediately able to see whether there are users available in these queues. So I can see actually there's somebody available in this Swiss queue. Okay, so that means that I've got a good chance of that call being answered if I do transfer to that queue. Okay, so just to kind of show you where we can put these external contacts, if that is of interest, you can use Power Automate to basically link to those external sources. And what we've done here is actually embed the Excel list that we're pulling this from. We've actually decided to embed that directly within Teams. Okay. And now that, and because this is in Teams, it means the receptionists have the ability to just go in here to change the contacts, add contacts, okay? So if they need to add a new contact or actually change the address or change any of the information of the contacts, then they can do that directly within Teams and they don't have to leave the app to do that, okay? We can also pull those contacts in from, say, Salesforce or Outlook, okay? So the call just dropped there, so I'm going to put just another call in quickly and show you the call handling ability. Okay, I'm going to log into this UK queue very quickly. Okay, so when we've got a live call, I'll just get in now. Should come to me in a moment. I think I've got a colleague logged into the other queue, so just give me a moment.
Welcome to the UK-based demo of Nimbus.
Okay, so I'm going to get that call through. We've got a couple of people logged into the queues at the moment, so that's why it took a while to be distributed. Okay, so now I'm in a call again. So I've now called the UK queue this time. Let's say that this person wants to speak to David here. What I can do is I can obviously check his availability. I can see his job title. We can add custom notes against these callers. So if I want to say that, okay, this person only starts work after a certain time, or they only work a few days a week, then I'm able to put those custom notes in against each of these contacts. And now that we want to transfer the call, I have a few different options. Okay, so I can either use the safe transfer, the blind transfer, or the consultation call. So the safe transfer, what that's going to do is if I safe transfer it across to David and he doesn't answer, or it goes to his mobile, or he declines that call, then the system will automatically hand me that call back so I can do something else with it. So that's really good for those calls where you want to make sure it actually reaches someone, okay? And you want to, so you don't just want to send it off and then it gets lost. The blind transfer, that will just send it straight across to David. I don't get that call back at all. And then the consultative transfer, that will start a new call with David. This existing call will be parked automatically. And then I can decide based on my conversation with David, if he wants to take that call, I can complete the transfer. If he doesn't want to take that call, I can do something else with it. Within each of these, I get some further options. So let's say it's the blind transfer that I want to do. What I can do here is I can basically choose where I want to send that call. So do I want to blind transfer it across to his Teams endpoint, which is just his UPN? So that then he can answer it on any of his Teams devices. I might know that he doesn't want to take that call and just transfer it straight to his voicemail. So I can do that here. Okay, I can just send it straight off to his voicemail. If we have any external numbers in AD against that contact, like a mobile number or another landline number, I can also transfer across to those external numbers. So I don't just have transfer across to those Teams destinations. Okay, I get very similar options with the safe transfer and the consultative transfer there as well. Okay, so that's good for transferring a call. Let's say that I've tried to reach David and I haven't been able to. What I can do here, if I need to notify him that this person's called, I've got a couple of options. I can either notify him by Teams message or by email. Okay, so let's try the Teams message. What that's going to do is it's going to take me straight to his Teams message here, and then I can just message him to let him know this person's called. Alternatively, I might want to send an email. Okay, so I can just press this email button. And what that's going to do is it's going to automatically populate an email here to David's email address. Okay, so I don't have to spend time entering that email address. It's going to say call from Ollie Lively, because we have the name of that caller in our Excel list. If we don't, that'll just be call from the raw number. And then it's going to put through as much information about that caller as possible in that email. So if we just have the phone number, it will just be the phone number. If we do have an address or an email address in there as well, it will put that into the email, so I can just send that across, and that's going to save me a lot of time. I don't have to spend time copying and pasting. I don't have to spend time taking the number from the caller. Okay, that's all ready to go. Okay, and then finally, I might actually want to advise that caller on when that person's next going to be available. Okay, so instead of having to go into Outlook and find the shared calendar, I can just view his calendar from here. It'll bring up his calendar for today. I can see he's in a meeting from 2 to 4, so I can advise the caller to call back after 4 o'clock. And if I want to see further on in the week or further in advance than that, I can get to the calendar and advise the caller appropriately. Okay. So the final kind of element of this is the search function. So obviously in my example, I just tried to transfer that call to David, but often I'm going to have to find people that aren't in my favorites list. So I've got a few different ways to search. The most obvious one is just to search by somebody's name. So if I just search for John here, I'll just search John here, and I can see that he's actually green and available. So I've probably got a good chance of getting hold of him. And then I can use all of the same transfer actions that I had before. But I might actually want to transfer or search by some other filters. Okay, so there might be a scenario where I don't necessarily need to find a specific person, but I just need to find somebody within a certain department. So I've got different filters available to me, and I can access those just via a shortkey by going D on my keypad. That'll bring up the department filter, and then I can search in our sales team. Okay, and immediately that's going to search everybody in AD who's in the sales team. Okay, and I can just search through these until I find somebody that's available. I can see that Martina's busy in a call, I'm busy in a call, everyone else is offline. Okay. There are some other filters that we can apply here, so like city, company, country, whatever's going to be most useful for finding that contact. Okay. So that kind of covers the end user experience of the attendant console, how we handle a call, transfer that call, and the alternative options available there. I just wanted to show you very briefly some of the reporting capabilities that come out of the box with this. If you were on our enterprise routing webinar last week, then you would have already seen this. And I'd recommend looking at that for a bit more of a deep dive. But often reception teams and kind of operator switchboard teams that they would like to see some reporting out of it. So we offer both live reporting and historical reporting. So so each queue that you set up with us will have its own dashboard here. So I can view in real time what's happening in the queue, how many callers are waiting, how many calls are connected, who those calls are connected to. We can also get a real-time view of the users. Okay, so this is going to include attendant console users. So we can see, okay, who's available, how long have they been available for, who's not available, how long have they been in those states for. We can also provide some really useful KPIs and SLAs here. In these dashboards, again, you can filter by the queues that you set up. So you can have a dashboard per site, for example, and we can see things like reachability. So as a percentage of total calls that are coming in, how many are being answered. You can set a acceptance SLA to say, okay, I want to answer all calls within 2 minutes, for example, and then this will track how we're performing against that SLA. We can track average queue time, average connected time. In the user statistics here, we can see who's answering the most calls, who has the most calls being declined, and who's ignoring the most calls. And we can also see heat maps here to get an idea, okay, of when are we busy, but also when are we missing calls, okay? So when are the calls not being handled? So yeah, if you want to see a bit more detail on some of these reports, then please have a look at our enterprise routing webinar. But hopefully that gives you an idea of what's available out of the box with this solution. And now moving just finally on to some of the configuration side of things. So we want to make this as self-service as possible for our customers and our partners. So if you've got the right permissions, and this is all based on, the access is based on different permissions, so not all users will have access to this. You can go in here all within the same app, and you can change things like opening hours, you can change things like announcements, hold messages, IVR messages, etc. So just to give you a quick example of that, if we needed to kind of add a holiday period into our opening hours on this Saturday, what we can do here is we can give it a start time and end time, say that's a holiday period, give it a title, and when we've set all of that up, that will go into our call flows. So I'll just set one up from scratch here, just to show you. So create against the UK queue, and then we can play like an announcement saying, thanks for calling company ABC. We can use our Microsoft text-to-speech engine here. Before doing that, we might want to check opening hours. So we might want to say, okay, this is our call flow when we're open, and then go to an IVR here. So we can say, right, so option 1 is going to be for support, option 2 is for sales, etc. So we can build out those IVRs. Of course, you might just want to have it going straight to the users, and when you're ready for it to be sent to the users, you can send it to the queue. Okay, and then you could decide how that call is distributed amongst the attendant console users that are logged in. Do you want it to ring everyone at the same time? Do you want it to go via a longest idle distribution? We can give it a timeout, so we can say, okay, timeout after 5 minutes there, and then once that's timed out, we can maybe decide to transfer that internally, externally to another queue that we've set up. Okay, so we give you a lot of flexibility here. Okay, there's lots of other use cases for this, not just the attendant console use case. But for example, when we're closed, we can say, let's just play an announcement saying we're closed, and then have everything going to voicemail here, and then the receptionist can pick that up in the morning and call those people back. Okay, but I think that covers most of what I wanted to show. So
Thanks, Ollie.
Thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks everyone. Wish you a very nice day. Bye.